Do you hate Valentine's Day? Well, you're not alone. Literally everyone hates Valentine's Day, but it's over. It's in the past. Let it go. Forget about it. Whatever happened, just let it go. Make yourself feel a little bit better by getting one of our Dead Feb products. We discount the entire site 20% off. It's a dead time of year for all of our hearts and souls. So get yourself something nice for Valentine's Day and check it out below.
What's going on, everyone? It's been a minute. My name's Colin. I'm a footwear designer, and today we're taking a look at Hoka's latest iteration of the Clifton to see if there's anything inside that explains why this little French brand with giant marshmallow midsoles has blown up and taken some of that oh so precious footwear market from the giants of Nike, Adidas, and the like. This is one of our videos in a series where we're taking a dive into the current white hot millennial running market to see why so many of these small brands are popping up and growing so rapidly to the point where they're becoming more commonplace than larger players that have been at the game for longer. We're also going to try and figure out why all your friends have been running marathons. If you want a full breakdown and history of the brand Hoka, please go check out the video we did on the Hoka Kaha 2, where we go pretty in depth on how it got its start. But here's some highlights. Basically, some ex-Salomon employees broke off to start up a new brand with an emphasis on cushion and performance comfort for extreme downhill running and ultramarathon running. To set up the scene a little bit more, when Hoka first got its start, it was sort of this high stack, pillowy cushion outlier in a sea of firm and minimal running shoes. At the time, like the early 2010s, books like Born to Run were gaining popularity, and products for the barefoot and minimal shoe enthusiasts were all the rage. Even big players like New Balance and Nike tried their hand at the barefoot and natural shoe lines like the Nike Free and the New Balance Minimus lines. Hoka was nothing like those shoes. Because they were focused on protection for downhill running, they looked otherworldly compared to what was on the mainstream market at the time. Actually, if I had the editors pull up a picture of the Hoka Clifton 1 compared to this one, they're not even really that big. The Clifton 1 should look actually more minimal than this guy. It doesn't even look that giant or huge or weird compared to what we have these days. And that kind of just goes to show how well Hoka and the movement that they've created has sort of shifted perspectives. Hoka really stuck with their format and they catered to their audience. And I feel like it's sort of paid off big time for them. They've gained massive popularity and recognition within the last 5 years. And I feel like the popularity and that shift and everything is felt more in the Clifton than any of their other models. The Hoka Clifton is built to be Hoka's neutral daily trainer to rival the likes of Nike's Pegasus, Brooks, Ghost, and New Balance's 1080. From the outside, the Clifton sports pretty much exactly what you'd expect for a daily trainer these days. Solid rubber traction, a knit upper, and loads of foam. There's gotta be something else though, right? So we're gonna cut them in half and see why they're taking over so much market share. The brand is Hoka, the style is the Clifton 9, they weigh 9.7 ounces, they cost $145, and they're made in Vietnam. Hoka positions these shoes and says that they are the 9th iteration of our award-winning Clifton franchise. Lighter and more cushion than ever before, eliminating weight while adding 3 millimeters of stack height. The new Clifton 9 delivers a revitalized underfoot experience with a responsive new foam and improved outsole design. Removing overlays and hot melts, the stripped back upper has been consciously crafted with a plusher heel, reflective heel panel, and streamlined tongue with a single side medial gusset.
HelloFresh sponsors this video, but they use green screen green in their branding, so I'll have to pull this off the table. But HelloFresh is a really cool company because they deliver all the ingredients you need to make some really tasty meals. And so I already pulled some of these out to show you exactly what you get. HelloFresh is really nice because they have 50 plus different dinner options and even more market items that suit any healthy lifestyle. And you can customize your delivery. You can customize from week to week, mix and match lifestyle options to suit your needs, like fit and wholesome, family friendly, quick and easy, vegetarian, and more. So what do we have here? Well, it says sweet soy honey chicken. And so if I open this up, you see inside of here, you've got all your ingredients that you need, all the different sauces pre-packaged. It comes with the chicken breast you need to cook. And the coolest thing is you just scan this little QR code and it pulls up the exact way to make it, your ingredients list, your step-by-step process. So it's really tough to screw these up. And it's really fun to do with people, whether it's your spouse, a friend. Cooking is one of those things that kind of brings people together. It's something you're creating together, you get to eat together. And it's a really fun process with HelloFresh because you don't have to spend an hour at the grocery store overbuying too much. You get exact proportions with the exact ingredients you need to make the exact meal that you want to eat. So thanks to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. Go to the link below and use my code ROSEFEB10 and receive 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active if you're in the US. The link and code are valid in all countries and the respective local discounts will apply. Thanks again to HelloFresh. Check them out below.
Jumping right into the upper. It's a really breathable engineered knit. They say that it's 35% recycled polyester. The collar and tongue lining are at 60% recycled polyester. The only interesting things to note on the upper are that it has these what look like holes, but they're actually just a different yarn or a different material. The designs that look like holes are knit with this interesting material. It's actually called monofilament yarn. It's clear. Just think of fishing line. It's basically fishing line that the knit machine switches to create these kind of shapes. The tongue is made out of a spacer mesh, which is pretty nice. Spacer mesh we've done deep dives on before, but it's sort of a dimensional fabric that creates a foamy cushion-like structure, but it's actually really breathable and super lightweight. That's really important for a tongue in terms of running, because when you're running, you want to make sure that your foot is locked down on the shoe itself. Alleviating lace pressure is exactly what the tongue is meant to do. If there's not enough squish or cushion in the tongue, it can basically transfer all of that lace pressure to the top of your foot. The pair that I've been waving around is actually my own personal pair that I've put about 150 miles into. The upper has always been relatively breathable. The upper doesn't have that much give to it, I would say. It's pretty stiff and scratchy. It's mostly all plastic, which you can, tell from the burn test, it really melts and bubbles up. I wish it had just a little bit of give, a little bit of stretch, especially in the toe box area. It's deceivingly narrow. It looks like it's a lot wider than it really is. The reason that you would want a more stiff or stable upper is that really essentially the upper's whole job is just to keep you on the platform, especially when it comes to running shoes. All of the innovation and thought and effort for the most part in terms of running shoes happens in the midsole because it's kind of your buffer to injury. The upper's whole job is just to keep you on top of this midsole. So you want something that's pretty stable, that's not going to give too much, especially around the saddle of your foot or the instep of your foot is really important. Like they've said, they've really stripped back the overlays. There's a couple details here and there with, some graphics, some logos, but for the most part, it's really just this engineered mesh. That takes us down to the lining. The lining here is actually pretty nice. It's pretty soft, it's nice and comfortable. It's another spacer mesh textile, but then in the ankle, it's backed by some foam, which it makes it really comfortable and doesn't really create any hot spots when running. As we move towards the toe of the shoe, the toe is completely unlined, but there is a little toe stiffener in here. And since the upper is pretty much all unstructured, having this toe puff is really important because it creates this rigid part that creates volume in the top of the shoe right here on the toe box. So if you didn't have this toe puff here, this upper material would collapse in on your foot as you're running, and it could cause some hot spots, again, cause blistering or discomfort. And moving to the tongue, we already touched on the spacer mesh, but I'd like to talk about that asymmetrical medial tongue gusset. If you look here on only the medial side, there's a gusset, meaning the tongue is just kind of strapped down to where the strobel stitch is, which is a cool feature, but it's not on the lateral side. The insole is a fairly basic removable open cell foam insole, and most running shoes will have a removable non-glued-in insole just because the insole and orthotic market has a stranglehold on runners. I'm only kidding, but really insoles help a certain subsection of people who maybe don't have as strong of tendons or they have some sort of injury or problem with their ankles or feet, providing those runners an ability to not affect the stack height or the characteristics of their shoe with a removable insole where they can replace with their own is really important. Hoka is one of those brands that's also partnered with the Podiatric Society of America. We need to double check that, but I know that Hoka has a specific partnership with the podiatrists of the United States at least. That's also another thing to keep in mind, that running shoes are, yes, built for runners, but they're oftentimes sold to people who are never going to run in them just as something for comfort all day wear. And that takes us down to the midsole. This is where Hoka and all the other brands really put all of their innovation and money into, and Hoka is known for their gigantic squishy midsoles. Hoka says that this is a compression molded EVA foam. Now, there's a few different types of compression molded EVA processes, but for the most part, a foam material, whether it's a pre-form, so a little mini version of the midsole, or a sheet or pellets, are put into a hinged metal mold that gets compressed and then heated so that the foam inside of it can take the proper shape. It expands and fills the gaps of the mold. This is different to injection molding. That's a process where liquid foam is basically injected into a mold cavity to take its shape, Injection molded EVA and compression molded EVA for the most part are similar, but there are slight performance differences. Injection molded EVA tends to be bouncier feeling, whereas compression molded foams tend to be a little bit more durable and long lasting, but not always. It kind of depends on the compound of the foam. In terms of the Hoka Clifton 9, it actually performed pretty well on our ball drop test, getting number 9 overall with 18.7 inches, and on the bar drop test, getting number 3 out of 135. Hats off to Hoka on a pretty good EVA. In the pair that I've run in, I did notice that it actually feels pretty lively and bounces back pretty quickly. I think that was what was nice about it. I didn't like other aspects of the shoe, which is why I really didn't put that much mileage in them. I did notice that it wasn't that traditional kind of sinking EVA feeling that you get over time, where the EVA starts to kind of bottom out. Hoka also says that these shoes have their early stage meta rocker with inherently stable geometry. Their early stage meta rocker is just fancy marketing speech for the kind of geometry of where the sole is on the bottom. So a rocker shape is, you know, basically this kind of banana look that happens on certain shoes. It's actually pretty important on shoes with really large stack because your proprioception for your ankles to dorsiflex to get out of the way of things does not extend to the bottom of a midsole. In order to transition through the thickness of a midsole, it's important that you have a rocker shape to get you through it. Hoka's early stage one just means that they put the shape further into the foot. If you look at any of their trail running models or their hiking models that have their late stage meta rocker, you'll see that this geometry starts a little further back. Having a rocker shape in a thickly stacked pair of shoes is actually pretty important. I don't know if you've ever run up a set of stairs with your socks on and then put on a pair of shoes and then ran up that same set of stairs. You probably almost tripped and ate it because, like I was saying, the proprioception of your foot and knowing where the bottom of your foot is in space does not extend to a midsole. So having that rocker and having it taper at the toe is really important because, you know, it gets closer to being able to clear those areas. If you didn't have this rocker shape while you were running, you would likely be dragging your toes or tripping all over yourself. I know that in previous iterations of the Clifton, certain runners and reviewers felt like the foam was a little dead, and I know that they tweaked the formulation here for more responsiveness, and I actually definitely noticed it. I only ran about 150 miles in my pair. I didn't really get along with the shoe very well, but I did notice that the step-in comfort and the spring and responsiveness in each step definitely had more life to it than a traditional EVA midsole. So how is Hoka stacking up in softness on their massive midsoles? Well, they're coming in 20 to 25 Shore on the inside of the foam. So it's not the softest that we've seen, but some of those more expensive and really soft foams that we've seen, like Boost and Zoom X, come in at like a 10 Shore. Those make sense for those shoes, but for this shoe, given it's a workhorse daily trainer that you're hopefully gonna get like 500 or 600 miles out of, it makes sense that they're not going to put a super soft, not as durable foam inside. Is there anything inherently special about Hoka's midsole foam? Well, the more average Shore A durometer shines a light on this a little bit, meaning that it likely isn't anything all that special or technical, just a traditional CMEVA with a little bit of a different formulation to make it more lively. Supposedly, the outsole is a durabrasion rubber, and it's measuring in at 74 Shore A. It's pretty sparse coverage, lots of foam poking out, but that rubber being sparse is partially due to the fact that rubber can actually really change the feeling of a softer midsole. It holds the bottom in tension essentially because you're gluing this much more rigid piece to a much softer piece. And when running, the foam can't compress and rebound there as well. Generally, it's okay because EVA is a ground contact foam, which means it's just more durable and it can hold up to being abraded by concrete. That being said, in my pair, the rubber wore away pretty quickly. Hoka is not necessarily known in the running market to have extremely durable or stellar performing outsoles, and that's no exception here. That's all we can see from the outside. Let's cut it in half and see if there's anything else. Jumping into it, it looks like it's got a non-woven lasting board like we mentioned. So a little bit stiffer underfoot than maybe some of the others. It's about 25 millimeters thick, so about an inch. It's a 5 to 8 millimeter drop, which Hoka usually is about like a 5 to 6 millimeter drop, sort of a in-betweener drop, not quite zero. It's got a thin rubber outsole. Again, like I said, not super durable, but 3.5 millimeters thick. It's got a synthetic counter that does a pretty good job of locking in your heel. Pretty standard. Knit upper, foam midsole, rubber outsole. So then why is Hoka dominating? I think Hoka does a really stellar job at a few things. I think they make a pretty good running shoe, but they do a killer job on what we call color material finish design, CMF or color design. The colors are always bright and energetic. When they aren't, they're still done very well. They have just this finger on the pulse of the trends, and they're doing a really good job of listening to their community base and pushing the envelope towards their needs and wants. Honestly, the materials aren't amazing, but they get the job done. Again, is exactly what you want out of a daily trainer. You want something that will last long enough. I know on this channel we talk a lot about durability and stuff with boots, but the reality is running shoes in particular are a buffer to injury. They break down so that your body won't. You can look at them more like a pair of tires than an heirloom pair of boots. No one expects car tires to last forever, and these are the same. Overall, I love the Clifton line and I love Hoka. I think that they are the granddaddy of modern pillowy soft running shoes, and I enjoyed my time running in them except for the fact that I need stability shoes. I do wish that the outsole lasted a little bit longer and that maybe the toe box was a teeny bit wider, but other than that, I think they're a really solid running shoe. So for $145, are they worth it? Daily training running shoes aren't $80 to $100 like they used to be. For the current market, they are sort of right where they need to be. I think with any running shoe, it's always worth it to keep an eye out for discounts and sales, because kind of happen a lot. These shoes get swapped out frequently for new colors and models, like every year, every couple months even. If you need a solid, cushy running shoe, it's not bad at $145, but at 30% off or something like that, it's kind of hard to beat. All right, guys, that wraps it up on the Hoka Clifton 9. Have you run in a pair? What do you think of them? Are they durable enough? Are they working for you? For me, I had like some peroneal tendonitis happen because of these Hokas. They were just a little too soft for me, I guess. Let us know how we did in the comments below, and let us know what shoes you want to see. We're trying to uncover this millennial running market and see the brands that are capitalizing on it, really. So stay tuned. We have a few awesome shoes next, and let us know what you want to see. Peace, guys.